What is going on, fine people? Happy Monday to you all. I was trying to pull something up here to have it ready, and I ran out of time as the song was winding down. There we go. What's going on, people? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the ASTROLABE, brought to you by King Pilled. I normally have I go through and I make my bookmarks on Twitter or whatever. I'm interesting stories and stuff that I see, and then I eventually put them into approximate categories, and we go through the stories. I kind of try to make them make sense. Well, this morning, this whole weekend I was out. I've been fighting a headache, which is part of why I just decided to rock the shades today. I used to wear these all the time, but you might be able to see right up here the frames broke. They're really cheap. I got them at a gas station in Las Cruces. And then what they wound up serving, the purpose they wound up serving was to hold my hair back out of my face. So if you guys watched King Pilled a few years back, you would have seen these. I had these on just as a fixture on top of my head. Then the frames broke, cracked up here around, so I haven't used them as much. But I pulled them out the other day because we were doing a business meeting for the super secret project that we're working on that you guys will find out more about soon. We were doing a business meeting for that, and we just by default. So first of all, this is very, very millennial Zoomer business. We're doing a business meeting on a Discord VC, and we're sitting here with our cameras on and everything. And then someone suggested we needed to take our shirts off. So we were all sitting there shirtless, and then we had to go get our shades. So we're sitting there doing a business meeting shirtless with our shades on. Straight Buster says Uncle Ted cosplay. I think Uncle Ted, he would be so ashamed of me sitting here broadcasting live to you guys. Anyways, so that's how these wound up on my desk, and I decided to throw them on before we got started today. So today there's not going to be any sort of theme or consistent news, no categories or anything. I've got the most tabs that I've ever had open, and I didn't have time to sit here and try to go through and filter them all and slide them over, move this one over here, and let's do this one before that one. And what did he say in this one? Okay, let's see. Okay, that's right. Okay, none of that today. Today we're just plowing through, and we're going to take the tabs as they come up, which is how I opened them in my bookmarks folder. Which is not how I put them in there, but that's how it chose to display it. So we're gonna let the universe guide us today. First of all, I want to suggest to you, those of you who have not, go check out my conversation with Synagogue, with Oliver on the Synagogue channel. This was on Friday night, I believe, 2 days ago. Yeah, Friday night. We went for almost 3 hours talking all different types of stuff related to the tech titans, the tech lords, the PayPal mafia. I really enjoy talking with Synagogue. I love the way he works. I love the way his mind works. I like the way he talks and reasons through ideas. So we had a grand old time with that. Definitely recommend you guys go do that. And then as I opened this, so one of the tabs I have in here today, I think, is something related to Interstellar, the movie Interstellar, which is one of my favorites. I love Christopher Nolan stuff, but I finally got around this weekend to watching Tenet. It's exactly the type of movie. It's like a movie that was designed for me to be interested in it. Exactly the type of thing that I'd be interested in, and I'd never seen it. Taken 4 years, I kind of got away from the whole movie watching culture, but finally went around and finally got around to watching it, and I loved it as I expected to, and now my mind is consumed by contemplating the story, the way the narrative is pieced together, and what it implies, and just reasoning through all those things. I enjoy that. So I got the algorithm is prepared for me. They've been waiting. They're ready to toss up content that's exactly the sort of thing that I'm ready to consume, which is Tenet, a misunderstood masterpiece. I'm going to be an insufferable Tenet. I don't know. What do you call it? You remember you had like the old Lost message boards? I was on the Lost message boards back in the day, debating all the different possible theories and stuff with it. I'm going to be an insufferable Tenet theory lord, whatever that is. Also, shout out Piquinones. I've got this one queued up. We're not Jehovah's Witnesses. I've got that queued up to watch later today. But I did see this one here. I played a Moment of Zen podcast for you guys a while back with Balaji Srinivasan, where you have Balaji explaining the tech takeover of the right from like to a Silicon Valley oriented episode, or a Silicon Valley oriented audience. And this episode here is wading into a moral case for Trump with Indian Bronson and Hannah. So this will be interesting. Duffhead says he listened to it this morning. I'm very curious to listen to it. So this is Eric Torenberg, the usual host. And their Moment of Zen is kind of, they've had Yarvin on. They've talked to him multiple times. They're kind of like a bridge between our guys and the tech community. There's a lot of overlap there, a lot of conceptual overlap, and a lot of cultural overlap. So I wanted to bring this one to your guys' attention, encourage you to go watch it at some point, because I am going to do that. All right. Let us dive into the tabs. I wish I could, I don't think I can show it to you. I wish I've got probably, I don't know, 30 tabs, maybe somewhere in that vicinity, 25 to 30 tabs. And they're crammed so tightly. I almost can't even click on an individual tab. Yeah, let's dive into them. Do me a favor, hit the like button. We got 58 watching on YouTube, 13 likes. Give me likes. I need your likes. Please, sir, may I have a crumb of likes? Help me in the algorithm. I'm trying to game the algorithm. And if you'd like to join if you'd like to support the show, you can join the King Pill Discord. Go to kingpill.com, which is where the King Pill Discord is going to be the place. We've got a few things we're going to be dropping in there here over the next couple of weeks to start getting some feedback from you guys for this project that we're working on. And the King Pill Discord is going to be the place where those things get dropped. So this is a shameless self-promotion. Go to kingpill.com. Sign up for the King Pill Discord, and you can get the early word on the new coming things. All right. Oh, and you also can join in the Schizo stream on Friday night. So this last Friday night, what we wound up doing for the Schizo stream was watching the movie Equilibrium. Seen the memes and heard about it a lot. I'd never actually gotten around to seeing it, and so we sat and watched that together. That was a lot of fun. We're gonna have to figure out a workaround to be able to do that sort of thing in the future, because we tried to, there's a number of things I could think of to try to get around this, but we were in Chrome. I was on YouTube. I rented it off of YouTube Movies and then screen shared into Discord. But because I was using Chrome and YouTube, both Google properties, then they or Alphabet properties, I suppose, then it was blocked. So the screen was just blocked, so it wouldn't share. So what we wound up doing was I opened up Restream and added everyone in as if they were going to be guests on a stream, and then just screen shared in here and watched it. But that means there's a limit of 10 people that we can get in there. So Fortunately, it was a low turnout. I was late getting started, so I got to come up with some sort of workaround for that. But sitting and watching a movie together was pretty fun. We may do more of that here in the future. Anyways, kingpill.com if you want to go join the Discord, and that's where I'm sourcing a lot of my stories these days. Is people toss stuff in the Discord and they're like, "Hey, did you guys see this?" And I'm like, "Oop, I will put that into my my bookmarks tab." This one here, I think I probably got out of our meme thread, or maybe I just saw it while I was on Twitter, and I was just cracking up watching this. I've had it bookmarked in here because I haven't had a place to anything to fit it in, because it doesn't really pertain to anything. It just makes me laugh. So hopefully it makes you guys laugh. What I want is, like, I appreciate the Plants vs. Zombies joke. I get it, you know. But I want someone to take this video and make an edit of it with make it some proper White Boy Summer content, because this is the type of energy I want to be attacking the day with. Give me a get the fuck out of bed, bitch, go, or something along those lines with this, because just go walk out in the middle of a sunflower field and just start fucking punching sunflowers. This is the kind of energy I want to have. So I'm going to drop this. I'm giving you guys some free ideas for edits to make. So I'm just going to drop this out there in the chat, and you guys can go to town with it if there's any of you who would like to. Yeah, Euthanasia says it's a good base for memes. Our meme thread is banging. We got, and we can always use more. If you've got good memes and you're a loyal meme harvester, and you want another place to drop them off, then by all means, join our meme thread. All right, here's another one. Based Beth Jesus. See, I've got so many freaking tabs up here. I can't even close the old tab. Okay, there we go. Government wages lawfare against Elon, thinking there's no way it can backfire. Elon, I'm about to corporate take over the whole government.
I have discussed with Trump the idea of a government efficiency commission.
Nice. Yeah.
And I would be willing to be part of that commission.
I wonder how hard that is.
The antibody reaction would be very strong.
Yes. Yeah.
So you really have to. You're attacking the Matrix at that point. The Matrix will fight back.
So there's so much about this that I like. Number one, shout out Base Bev Jesus. He's a rather controversial character in his own right. But I like his vibe. I like his energy. And then we've got we're seeing the overlap between Silicon Valley and our guys. So now we've got a Silicon Valley guy memeing about Elon corporate takeovering the entire government. And and then you could tell Elon in the way he's talking about this that he knows exactly what's at stake here. The Matrix. What does he say? The antibody response. And he says, then you're attacking the Matrix. And think about Elon. Like, I've got another one in here in a little bit. I have no idea where it is. All this stuff's going to be out of order today. But I've got one about Elon and the amount of stuff that he's accomplished and the amount of things that he's involved in. So when he says, create a bureaucratic body, and I'm willing to be a part of that bureaucratic body, you know he fucking means business. This is not... The man's a busy man, but he's like, yes, indeed, a government efficiency commission. I will absolutely make some time in my day to participate in that. He's not going about this like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just dissatisfied with the way things are right now, and I want to kind of advocate for my interest here a little bit. No, he's ready to lay his balls on the table and go to work. All right, another one here. I haven't actually watched this one yet, but a number of people sent it to me. So it says Alex Pereira and Mark Zuckerberg just dropped an Olympics-themed skit. This, I don't have... The number of people who send it to me tells me that there's something significant about it, but just by the description here, I have a feeling I'm going to cringe.
No mercy. 笑了什么？什么？
What the fuck was that? I can't tell what's happening. I think he's just messing around.
Oh, no. 1, 2, 3, shaman.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it. I mean, if I could be doing that like full time for a job, fuck yeah, I'll do it. I don't got shit to say about the guy. He's out here making meme videos for a living and crafting up his image. Yeah. You know what? More power to him. Okay. Let's get on to the next one here. I need to make this a little bit bigger. Oh, and I just remembered there was another, with this one, there's another video that I wanted to play. No, I'll save that one for another day. We'll just do this one with Orin here, because I think I'm probably not going to have time for playing all those things. So I just bookmarked this one, how conservative media blew the most epic news cycle of all time. I bookmarked this one to watch and haven't watched it yet. So, but I know coming from Orin that it's going to be good stuff. So we get to watch this together.
So the JD Vance is weird debate is the stupidest thing I have ever seen conservative media fall for. JD Vance is weird. Seriously, guys, that's what you bet on? That's what you bet on. Donald Trump was shot in the face. Shot in the face. Leftists drove a crazy person to try to kill Donald Trump, and they're going to keep doing that. They have been talking still about how he's Hitler, about how he's an existential threat to democracy, how he's the end of the United States as we know it. They've been doing this the entire time. They have manufactured an entire media apparatus with no other job.
Sturker here, Axios remote fitness coaching. He says Zuck is speed running his high school jock years he never had. To be honest, kind of wholesome and humanizing, but yes, nerd kid cringy. Even in that last shot, like the very last shot of them standing there with their flags, the other guy is like a whole head taller than him. And the way the shot opens up is him just kind of looking up at him. Like little brother looking up at big brother. You beat me. Oh, shit. Yeah, that's right. I'm standing here too. Look at me. He's so delightfully autistic. Euthanasia says, I don't get it. Seems fun chilling with the homies. Yeah. Zuck is defined by the Jew fro. I do think that Zuck would look great with a mullet, but the something about the wigger fro just does it for me. Okay. We'll get back to this.
Then basically to tell left-wing radicals, hey, Donald Trump sure would be sad if something happened to him. You know, get rid of this meddlesome priest. Won't someone deal with this meddlesome priest, right? Like, that has been the message from the media forever. There's a failure by the Secret Service so phenomenal, so colossal, that it is just unprecedented in history, where you have some guy randomly wandering around the rooftop in view of everyone with people screaming, don't let him in there, he's got a gun, as he like walked up with like a ladder and stuff to get in here in a full rifle kit. He takes a shot at a president who's completely unguarded basically by Secret Service detail filled with like 5'2" women. Like, this happens. And then they go to Congress and they lie directly. The Secret Service and the FBI perjure themselves repeatedly and provably in front of the whole country. You let the left shift the narrative on JD Vance is weird. Like, seriously, how are people so bad at this? How are people so terrible?
It's good to see Orin getting real fired up like this, you know, because he plays a good boomer whisperer. He's such a fantastic boomer whisperer. He plays his role so well, and he's got his whole aura. He's the former educator, so he's got the academic side, but then he also has a very working class vibe about him. He's done like the working class journalism kind of thing. Oh shit. And then he's got the Metallica shirt on with the plaid over it. Like he was born to do boomer whisperer media. So, but it's good to see him. So he normally keeps it very, he's very level-headed and cool and just gives really good reasoned analysis, the type of thing that's just cracked to the boomers. It's nice to see him, cutting loose and just getting wound up and firing off opinions.
At what they do. It's very simple. The left had the worst couple weeks you could imagine. The vice president had to be cooed into running for president because the current sitting president was so obviously not the president, so completely senile, that you replaced it with Kamala Harris, the least charismatic human being of all time, after the failed assassination attempt of a man who popped up and immediately started chanting, "Fight, fight," with blood streaking from his face with an American flag flying behind him. And you gave all of that up, all of that momentum. People were talking about how this was going to be like a Nixon-style blowout, right? Like a complete Reagan-style domination. And you gave all that up to talk and defend yourself against J.D. Vance's weird.
Go off, King. If you're not following Orin, I don't know what you guys are doing. He is the single best thing about our guys on the internet. And I've been following him. He and I followed each other when we both had fewer than like 500 followers. So I've watched his absolute skyrocketing climb. And I've always been like, I was there from the beginning. And look how much he's putting me to shame. I've been sitting on this one here for a little bit, trying to figure out a place to plug it in. And now I spent a little while this morning trying to get my head around exactly what's going on. It seems like the UK is burning to the ground and Japan is burning to the ground, and Iran and Israel seem like they're ready to burn to the ground. And just trying to wrap my mind around what all is happening. And I was like, should I try to form an opinion about this despite not knowing anything really more than anyone else? And I decided, no, I'm not going to form an opinion. It's just, there's just shit going on, and there's going to keep being shit going on. And the answer is always the same. The answer is always the same. We need to build. No matter what happens over the next few months, we need to build. We've got shit to build. We've got space to build into, and we need to take advantage of every last little bit that we get for the time being. All the rest of this stuff it's good to be aware of. It's good to know about it. But by and large, it's a sideshow that we don't have any control over. No matter what happens, no matter who's at fault for what and who takes what angle on what thing or which person decides to make their move on what, every single possible eventuality comes back to, we got to build shit. So, thread here from Uber Boyo. He says, no political revolution can happen without a replacement elite. But Ireland will struggle to form this elite as all of the talented youth are leaving each year. 770,000 Irish citizens were living abroad in 2013. It's not hard to make $120K a year doing some stupid laptop job in a sunny spot. Why stay in Ireland? Insane rent, 45% tax, bad weather, swelling regulations, 12 mandatory lessons to learn to drive, bottle caps don't even work anymore. Politics is literally gay men making somber moral declarations about brown people. Why waste your highest energy years under this if you're 21? Why are these immigrated youth so important? Youth are smarter, braver, and have less to lose. Youth make children. Youth create art, culture, and style. Ireland is becoming an overpriced retirement home where migrant slaves serve as dumb boomers. If you wanted to reform the state, you need a team of young men. No boomer is prepared for what would happen if you started deporting people. You'd be hit with crushing economic sanctions. International finance owns half of Dublin and half of these asylum scams. If their investments were in danger, they would wage warfare on the Irish economy and then try to foment BLM riots. The working class in Ireland have honor and the testicular fortitude to defend themselves, but they can't do this alone. 100 to 500 serious and sharp men to support them and drive through a revolution is critical. They exist already, but live across the world. And this, it says, this is even worse in Britain and France and maybe a foreboding of what is to come. 3,000 millionaires left Britain last year. They see the writing on the wall. Boomers are draining the last suckles of blood before sailing into the sunset. The Islamo-leftist alliance rises. Both of these demand high wealth taxes and inheritance taxes to fund welfare and pensions. The politics available is, quote, hard right, Farage saying he's anti-racist. If you partake all, you are paid 35,000 pounds. The rich, young, and revolutionary want to escape. This is naive, cowardly, and frail, but it is the cold, hard truth. How do you reverse this trend? All I can see is promising more. A young man needs to feel like he's getting a big reward if he's taking a big risk. If 500 young Irishmen believe they could fully reform the state, make it their property, and revolutionize it, not placate selfish boomers in the whinging of representative demographics, not anti-racism, but actual revolution, would they take the risk? The Irish right could absolutely obliterate the left on this point. We found out last week that a shadowy vulture fund was funding the asylum centers. Common leftist talking point, you don't talk about big capital. A revolutionary right with smooth rhetoric about reforming the Irish financial system. Imagine that. This overregulation, crushing economy, and dead-souled youth is a broad Western problem. Quebec requires 27 driving licenses and 3 exams before you can use a car. My grandfather applied for a license in the post office and it was sent out a week later. The boomers print money to avoid problems. They leave you national debt. They start replacing you and then create a haze of regulations just before they retire. Imagine the worst-case scenario and the entire West becomes like Brazil. Imagine we create private DNA citizenship systems. You get a Western-wide passport. A litany of gated communities accept it. They are protected by mercenary security. Kids get private education inside. 3D printed drone armies act as serious capacity for enforcement. Renegade science can be conducted on the inside. Longevity, biohacking. What's the thing he's quote tweeting here? A guy replying to him. In the future, safety, functionality, and social cohesion will become the most valuable components of real estate. Right now, we are the last vestiges of 20th century global finance, tax shelter, chasing return arbitrage. That's why alpha cities like New York and San Francisco, Dublin, have the worst of both worlds. Billionaires buying up the top 20% of real estate for hiding capital, pushing out the middle class from affordable housing while simultaneously flooding the same cities with dependent hostile migrants whose only loyalty lies in wealth transfers from the rapidly shrinking middle class. This is not sustainable. Ireland's future is adopting a castle doctrine, ending welfare to migrants, deportations, and building safe gated communities with mercenary protection rackets. These communities will be their own citizenship. As national citizenship becomes meaningless, as corrupt politicians utilize tragedy, the commons incentives to destroy the 20th century nation state. And Uberboyo says DNA citizenship is a Western-wide passport to a litany of gate communities with mercenary protection. Actually, very interesting idea. And I think this is the sort of direction that I suspect we're going to go on a larger or small scale, or a formal or informal scale. Being able to build up these local communities, and some of these communities may form initially online. This is kind of the blend of the digital world and the physical world. The communities form online, but then they naturally progress to meet space, and they need to have your online communities. To be worth being a part of, they need to have some in-person component moving forward. That's not to say you can't have the online communities, but we need to be maximizing the value of these online communities, which is leveraging the ability to organize and fundraise and coordinate and cooperate while we're taking taking over and building upon and assuming or amassing physical capital, social capital, economic capital, and then that can become political capital. So in the worst case scenario where everyone's worst nightmares come true, then you get these little digitally networked, well-guarded private mercenary communities where we can, as long as our guys are well-versed on how to set up these sorts of technologies, and then they're spreading the wealth intellectually among their communities, putting themselves to use within their communities to help build these sorts of things out. Because you need to have the knowledge of how to build up the digital infrastructure. You need to have the knowledge of how to actually build and maintain the physical infrastructure. Being able to protect things with drone armies, like those are the sorts of things that you could get pretty sophisticated warfare capacity with relatively little investment. So these are the sorts of networks, resource networks and supply chains and stuff that we need to be building up. And if things go south, then these become this becomes the black market, the alternate economy that sustains our people as things get worse and worse. If things take a turn for the better for a generation or two, which I think is more likely, but I don't think is assured, then this becomes the basis for actually amassing a tremendous amount of territory, relatively speaking, and actually building ourselves up to become a legitimate political force that's jockeying for power in when the conflict gets hot again down the line. So I think both of these possibilities, and as I track history and just look at these things, it seems like every single time something like this happens, you get both outcomes. It's just going to depend on where you are. Some places are just going to be a whole lot worse off. Like, I think everywhere outside the United States is probably going to be, on average, worse than most places within the United States. Within the United States, the deep blue enclaves are going to be the worst. The most crime-ridden, the most conflict, the most violence. But then there's going to be some parts of the country that aren't anywhere near as overwhelmingly taken over by all of that. There's going to be some places that are stayed downright peaceful, where the majority of the conflict that you're going to face is going to be in the digital world. People going after your digital bank account, or trying to using digital means to surveil you and try to come after you. But by and large, outside of the digital world, you and your physical meat space world are going to be just hunky-dory. This is probably hard to imagine for some people who haven't, especially, it seems like people back east, the eastern part of the United States is much more densely populated than the western half of the United States. If you've never been out west, go out west whenever you can. Just go drive across the country, because there is an absolutely immense open space of completely untouched territory. Way out away from cell reception, like way out there, where it would take hours just to travel to get to you, to come harass you. There's so much land, so much territory. We just need the resources and the infrastructure to build it up. Is this the fuck right the pussy guy? I guess I kind of do look like him now, don't I? That's funny. Okay. Got a... this one I might have in here twice, because I think I saved it from a couple different people. But a clip here from JD Vance that I saw a lot of people passing around. And this is another one that I haven't listened to yet, but it sounded pretty good. So let's take a listen.
We were talking about like the sterilizing of kids and all this stuff. Like, what do you think the actual purpose of that shit is?
I don't know, man.
Like, what would the...
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I had a friend from law school. I got into a big argument about this with a few years ago, and we're basically not friends anymore, which is sad because I love this person. But I think part of it is these people think that everything that's different about men and women is, they use this word, socially constructed, right? It all comes from culture, and it's like, we all know this, right? Men and women, yes, some of our differences are cultural. Some of our differences are just like basic biology, right? Yeah. And I think they're so uncomfortable with that they try to biologically change men into women and women into men, because if you can get rid of the biological differences, then you can kind of get rid of all the other differences too. And I think you guys know Tucker Carlson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tucker and I have talked a lot about this, but men and women being different to me is not like a bad thing. It's a source of one of the coolest parts about being like a living, breathing human being in the world, right? Is women think about stuff slightly differently than men do, and that is a good thing. And we shouldn't try to like destroy those differences in the name of equality. We should give women and men equal opportunity and equal chances. Yeah. But sometimes people are going to make different choices, right? And that's okay. And because men and women make different choices, that's like not an excuse to sterilize kids, to try to turn a girl.
Well, I wonder how that happened. How long was it like that? That was weird. I was sitting here watching it, and then all of a sudden my screen went black, and it came back up, and it said, I was just talking about, being in a place where you can't really be bothered in person, but the digital world can attack you. Less than a minute. About a minute. Okay. Well, I don't know what happened, but let's pull this back here. Now I'm getting weirded out. Who's out there? Who's watching me? All right, let's try this again.
Kids to try to turn a girl into a boy, or vice
Someone said it was too fast, so I'll slow it down here.
versa. But that's what they're doing. And in the tell on this stuff, like I really didn't care about this stuff until a few years ago.
Did you guys hear that part already? It's working now. Okay. Well, that was very odd. All right. I'll just start it playing again, and we'll just keep going with it.
I think maybe being a father changes your mind a little bit on this stuff. But the tell for me was when they start saying, well, this stuff is totally reversible. If you give hormonal therapies to a 9-year-old kid, that is not totally reversible. I mean, these kids have like bladder problems and other stuff that's just gross. And why are we doing this to our kids without any real confidence in the science? It makes you realize, frankly, a lot of the public health establishment in this country is pretty deranged.
And it's also a whole nother, like, I don't think people even recognize this. It's a whole nother, like, a revenue source for the pharmaceutical
Absolutely.
industry, where it's like, they're making it like I forget what the word is when you can get your insurance to pay for something, where it's like if it's a life, you need it.
Yep.
They're making
then
like
it becomes reimbursable.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's like people don't even recognize
Dark.
where now it's
yes, that's the exact right word for it. It's dark. I mean, dude, like one of the things I actually agree with, at least the old school left on, is you got to be careful about when big corporations use financial incentives to control the government, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want people getting rich because they passed a law. You want people getting rich because they make products that people need, right? So this is always a criticism that the old left made about American healthcare is you don't want to force doctors to give people something just because it's going to make some pharmaceutical company rich, right? That doesn't make any sense. And yet, we right now are giving kids hormonal therapies. Pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars off of this shit.
Yeah.
And none of us are looking around and saying, well, wait a second. Is this good because they're making money off of it? Or is it good because it's actually in the best interest of these kids? And that is something, again, the Democratic Party of 30 years ago would have went wild over this because it's money intersecting with medicine in a way that's really bad for human beings. And now the only people talking about it are Republicans.
You know, it's weird. I saw the Gavin Newsom pass that bill recently about how
This is one of the things where JD has been in this, like the worst place to pause it visually, where JD's been in Congress for a little bit and has worked a lot with the so-called radical left because he can speak this language really well. This makes him when people actually sit down and listen to him, sort of like generic political normies. He's going to speak to them very well because they can relate to this. And this is just this is not an old video. This is from less than a week ago. This is him as the presumptive VP, like the VP, the nominee for VP for the favorite. Which in itself is wild. We're watching the first real legitimate millennial presidential ticket person sitting here and giving his millennial take on stuff, talking like a millennial, cussing. We're entering a completely new political age that's going to function very differently than the past age. It's going to have a lot of the same aspects. It's going to be obviously an evolution of that old age, so it's still going to have some of the characteristics of that, but it's going to be very different. Yeah, the eyeliner, the guy liner. I have the emo Vance. I don't think I opened it today, but I do have an emo Vance video in the bookmarks. I think what it is for him is, as a guy who has long eyelashes himself and has been asked before if I'm wearing eyeliner, I think he probably just has really long eyelashes, and it makes it look. It makes the lines around his eyes stand out a lot more. I like his posture here. He's got the legs spread. He's appropriately toxically masculine, showing his balls to the world, like he doesn't care.
About the Republicans.
You know, it's weird. I saw the Gavin Newsom pass that bill recently about how if a kid wants to become trans at school, they don't have to tell the parents.
Which is sick.
Which blew my mind to even hear something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, which is sick because I mean, like all of us have been teenagers before. All teenagers go through awkward phases where they don't exactly know what their place is. Or they, people go through emo phases, or they dye their hair black. Like every kid goes through some developmental phase where they're confused.
I wonder why he thought of emo phases. Where did that come from, JD? If we found your old MySpace account, what would it look like? I have a feeling I know.
And what this weird movement is doing is encouraging people to like latch onto their insecurities, not tell their parents about them, right?
Yeah.
And then I haven't confirmed this, so check my facts here, but I've also heard that in California, like if you're a parent and you think maybe it's a little crazy to give your 12-year-old hormonal therapies, you can be at risk of having your kids taken away. Like I'm a father of 3, that would make me go absolutely like, we're moving to the hills, keep your hands off my kids. This is crazy town.
But also another level to that is in that bill that he's talking about passing this, like, it's the gender affirming care. They don't have to tell the parents. So the kids are just talking to some random adult about how they feel a certain way. And like, that's even beyond what you're saying, even more concerning, because it's like that human being could have completely different biases. Yeah. And so they're going to input them on whoever's the kid is telling them, like how I feel.
Logo lifter. We all know JD was a huge My Chemical Romance fan, and that, my friends, is why we know he is our guy. We don't talk badly about My Chemical Romance fans around here, okay? I must stick up for my friends. I'm definitely not one of them, but I must stick up for my Chemical Romance fan friends.
Not just biases. I don't trust some stranger to talk to my kid about their sex and their gender.
Period.
Right?
Like I don't. Period. Whether it's that or just normal shit. It's like, why are you just not talking to kids about math and school shit?
Yeah. And by the way, we're falling behind in math and reading. So we our leaders are trying to convince our teachers to talk to kids about gender reassignment when they're 12 years old. Meanwhile, we don't do math as good as we used to. We don't do reading as good as we used to. Maybe we should focus on the shit that schools are actually supposed to teach kids. Again, it's common sense, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, that's their view, is that we should be teaching kids gender reassignment, and they think that we're weird. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
JD Vance, it stands for James David. James David Vance. So he's another one of is Vance a first name? I think Vance would be a first name. So he's a 3 first name guy. I think we've got some more clips coming from this interview later on, so we'll continue on through. This one was from 3 days ago, from Julie Kelly. It's official. SCOTUS ruling in Trump v. U.S. sent back to D.C. Appellate Court. Both the D.C. Circuit opinion and Judge Chutkan's order denying presidential immunity from prosecution is vacated, and President Trump gets some money back. So this was related to the presidential immunity case. Says, as expected, D.C. appellate panel kicks immunity question back to Judge Chutkan. Should see a status hearing scheduled soon. So this isn't a story that I've followed, but it seemed newsworthy. So for those of you who know what this is about, I haven't ever really cared exactly about the different cases because there's a reason. The only reason that the cases exist is for obviously fraudulent reasons. And the factors that are going to be determining these cases are larger than the cases themselves. So I don't know why I got unfollowed from so many people, and it doesn't make sense because I wasn't following that many people to begin with. Weird. So I was unfollowed from Julie Kelly too, apparently. Okay. So this next one's interesting. Candace Owens has been more and more significantly radicalized, it seems. This one here is talking about Shapiro. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, who has been largely rumored as a VP choice for Kamala. And I thought I had another one about him here that was going to be relevant, but I'm sitting here clicking through tabs and I'm not finding the other story about him. So we'll stumble upon it here eventually. But for the time being, let's listen to what Candace Owens has to say here. This one's 7.5 minutes long, so we're going to have to speed it up a little bit. Apologies to those of you who have a hard time with it.
This Josh Shapiro story is crazy. So Josh Shapiro, in case you aren't following him in Kamala's campaign,
We'll do one
this
in a
person has been thrust into the media spotlight as her #1 pick. Look at him. He looks evil. I think he looks evil. I don't like his face. He looks evil. Maybe I know too much about him. And it's this incredibly crazy murder. I mean, suicide story. So I'm gonna walk you through this. On January 26th, 2011.
My stream here is definitely going to get demonetized. I hope that it's not going to get pulled down from some of this. I don't know if she has this stuff hosted on YouTube or not, but we'll see how spicy it gets.
A 27-year-old named Ellen Greenberg, a first grade teacher at Juniata Park Academy. She died in an apartment that she shared with her fiance, Sam Goldberg. Let me show you a picture of her and Sam Goldberg. Look at her. She's so cute. I love her. See, I trust her face. I'm just like, I like this girl. Look at that big smile. Ellen Greenberg, genuinely rest in peace. So what happened?
For those of you who do watch Candace, I don't know anyone who actually watches Candace. Like, I see her clips and stuff because people who watch her apparently push them out. I don't actually watch her, but does she actually talk about physiognomy? Any of you who actually, because she's, it's very much something that's present in her subconscious at the very least. She's referenced it multiple times, like gone out of her way to do it, and she seems to be very, I don't know, the spidey senses are really going off big time with her right now, and it seems authentic. So I'm curious just how far along in her noticing path she is wandered down.
Happened was her body was found with a knife in her chest on the floor of the kitchen. And the Philadelphia assistant medical examiner, his name is Marlon Osborne, found 20 stab and slash wounds, half of which were in the back of her neck and her head. So the medical examiner, Marlon Osborne, initially ruled that her death was...
Sorry, I'm not laughing about what she's talking about. Dog whistling with a vuvuzela. Oh, that's a banger, CB. I'd imagine only boomer white dudes listen to her because she's one of the good ones. Yeah, right. But I mean, if Candace Owens is going to become the noticing vector for boomer white dudes, then all right. I'm signing up to watch this season of reality because it's going to get good.
Was clearly a homicide, right? Clearly a homicide, noting that a large number of the stab wounds, including 10 to the back of her neck, most people committing suicide, I don't know, 20 is a lot. And then what happened was something that was quite strange. Police publicly challenged his findings, and he suddenly switched the ruling to a suicide without any further explanation. The death was ruled a suicide, and then the Attorney General, that would be Josh Shapiro, the vice presidential hopeful, backed that up, that it was a suicide when the case landed on his desk, despite the clamor that it was very clearly a homicide. The Greenberg family has since been fighting to have her death ruled back to a homicide for years. And they say there is so much evidence that backs up their claim. Yeah, probably the part where you have 20 stab wounds, including some in your back, that would suggest that maybe you didn't commit suicide. So what actually happened here? Well, this guy Osborne said that he was pressured. He said that there was a campaign by the Philadelphia Police Department, his boss, and a representative from the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office to pressure Osborne into changing his mind and declaring her death a suicide. Ladies and gentlemen, this is some mafia-ish if I have ever read it. Okay, this is how the mafia and the mob operates. So yes, it looks like there is some sort of a gang running in Philadelphia. Like,
interesting that this is the vector she's using to describe mafia behavior. Candace, what do you know? What do you know, Miss Owens? Did she take her husband's last name? Is that why I just realized, is that why her show is called Candace now? Does she not use Owens in her branding? See, I don't follow Candace Owens really, but I've just seen a number of clips that have come across increasingly indicating to me that she talks a lot like she's listening to certain people I know. If I could say that. This is funny because the dude. If I'm getting the story right, the chick who was ended, Greenberg, Ellen Greenberg. This is rich. There's layers to this one. So there's a Greenberg family who's very upset, presumably, at the cover-up that has been employed by a Shapiro. And now this Shapiro is being considered for vice president of the chick that most Greenbergs and Shapiros don't like because of her perceived pro-Hamas leanings. This is getting really good. You know, Shapiro has been probably the one that I've been like, okay, that's going to be the most inconvenient. Like that one's going to be hard to work around. But man, this is really interesting. I was listening to the All In podcast the other day, and I can't remember who I can't remember if I said this on the show or not, but listening to the All In podcast, they mentioned how there was a large organization. They didn't name it, but there's a large organization that we would know about if they did name it. They were having an election for the chair of their board. The incumbent, who was going to run again, was a Jewish guy, and he was told that he shouldn't run, and that because they cannot have, they can't risk having a Jewish chair of the board right now, given how much of a hot button issue Israel has become and how much they're trying to pacify their attack dogs on the left, who are all getting lots of reasons to be real unhappy with the tribe. We live in very interesting times.
There's clearly one running in Hollywood, and like there's clearly one running in DC, okay? So this girl, it looks to me like she was probably murdered, okay? And then what happened was whoever murdered her clearly had some connections and called and said, no, we got to clean this up. And so here, by the way, the story gets even crazier. Ellen's parents, seriously, bless them, pray for them. Josh and Sandy Greenberg have been fighting against the city of Philadelphia to change the manner of their daughter's death back to a homicide, right? And the story goes that way back on that night in 2011, Greenberg's fiance, Sam Goldberg, called 911 to report that she was lying on the
Greenberg's fiance, Goldberg. We have a Greenberg, a Goldberg, and a Shapiro. My God, you couldn't cook this story up in a lab. Thank you, Kate, for filling me in on the background of her naming. See, this is why we have got like 3 or 4 women in the chat here. And I rely upon them to keep me apprised of some of these trends and patterns that don't make it into my brain, my extremely male masculine brain.
floor, blood everywhere. But before 911 got there, okay, he told investigators that he left their 6th floor apartment approximately 45 minutes earlier to go to the gym on the building's 1st floor. He claimed that when he came back, the door was locked from the inside with a swing bar lock. And when he couldn't reach Ellen by phone, text, email, or by shouting, he broke open the door and found Ellen's body on the floor of the kitchen. Likely story. Okay, it gets even crazier. A source confirmed by a letter from the Goldberg family's attorney to Fish said that at 6:14, Goldberg called his cousin. This is before he called 911. He called his cousin. His cousin's name is Kamian Schwartzman.
Schwartzman! Oh my God! Ah!
Call that lasted for approximately 5 minutes. During the next 7 minutes, Sam missed multiple calls from his uncle, James Schwartzman. But at 6:26 p.m., James Schwartzman tried calling again. Sam answered the phone. And then Kamian and James Schwartzman, both of them are lawyers, were at the apartment building sometime that evening, perhaps as early as 6:34 p.m., before the first responders arrived. Very interesting. Her body was slumped against a kitchen cabinet in a seated position. However, an attorney for Ellen's parents said in court Tuesday that her body had been moved. So what do you guys think happened here? What do you guys think? Do you buy that this woman stabbed herself, this like young girl with this happy smile across her face, stabbed herself 20 plus times to commit suicide? Is that a typical manner of committing suicide? Which, let me guess, I got another theme. Women are always hysterical. We're always hysterical. She must have just been a crazy woman having some psychosis and decided to kill herself in the most violent manner possible. Or somebody had connections. And it turns out that somebody who had connections, which is being heavily implied by Ellen's family, is Schwartzman. Josh Shapiro, the VP would-be hopeful candidate, went to school with Schwartzman's daughter, Kimberly. So Schwartzman arrived on the scene. So the family's alleging.
So he literally knows them. Oh my God. This is such an artifact. This entire experience of not just the story and all the elements in the story, but then having righteously indignant Candace Owens pulling the women are all hysterical as she's like, my brain is short circuiting at the layers of social phenomenon that are social phenomena that are happening here.
He got there first. He got the call.
This is like a variant of the Longhouse. Her whole like, this is the righteous angry mother personality kind of, but then you've got the girl boss in there as well. Like, oh, let me guess, women are always hysterical, and she was just hysterical, and so she's like identifying with her on like a woman to woman level. So there's also an element of this is like men's oppression to women. There's so many different strings to pull, like a big spaghetti plate in front of us.
He gets there. He starts calling the shots. Well, he's connected with Josh Shapiro, and Josh Shapiro went to school with his daughter, Kimberly Schwartzman. And Josh has publicly said that he's friends with Schwartzman and her husband. They've donated to his political campaigns. I mean, like I said, this is some mafia stuff if I've ever seen it. Okay. And this is, by the way, scary stuff. It is scary stuff to recognize, to insinuate and to recognize that gang members, okay, went on to achieve powerful positions in office. But when you read that book, Chaos, when you read these books I'm telling you about, you will have no question that we are on the side of truth when we talk about this stuff, when we say that there are very clearly sadistic gangs that are running the world, okay? I mean, JFK got shot in broad daylight, but, you know, no, officers. Nobody knows who did that. Nobody knows who did that, guys. Still. Well, we're going to see what's going to happen. Now it seems pretty obvious. How scary, by the way, to think that someone could be involved potentially in covering up this murder of this young, beautiful girl with her whole life ahead of her, and then could run for vice president, right? Could be seen as a viable vice presidential candidate. That should terrify you. I'm not kidding. That should genuinely terrify you, because a person who gets into office with that kind of power, the fact that Kamala, you don't think she could have accessed that? She knows what it means to be a district attorney. They're all up to the same stuff, okay? These are people that are covering up crimes. They're covering all sorts of crimes. The entire government apparatus has become corrupt in America, and we have to have the courage to say that if it's ever going to be fixed, it's going to take all of us. All of us.
Oh, man. One big coincidence. The assassination attempt on Donald Trump happened in Shapiro's backyard with the possible complicity of local law enforcement. And now all of a sudden Shapiro's the major VP candidate. You know, there's one part of me that, you know, looking at the motivations of all of these different, factions of the regime coalition, and they have all their different motivations and everything. There's part of me that wonders if they're not using this election cycle to flush some challengers' careers. You know, they're like using this as a way of trying to consolidate power within the Democrats, and they have some up and comers that they just want to not be considerations again. Like the names that we're not hearing talked about right now. I don't know what this is, kind of just a theory that's coming to me, but there are names we're not hearing talked about right now, which are the people that are tabbed as the 2028 contenders. There's no way that they're all just throwing all of their lot in on Kamala and hoping she can get it together, and then, let's just go back to the drawing board. This seems like putting Shapiro and Kamala together onto a ticket seems like sandbagging. Just trying to tank a particular faction within the regime, eliminate their power and their ability to influence things for a while, and then, you know, set back and rebuild and obstruct for 4 years. It seems like there's something along those lines going on, because, like, not only are they're pulling this guy up right now when Israel sentiment is like at its all-time highest, and I think they lose more by having a Jewish vice president than they gain by having a Jewish vice president. I think there's more people who are more upset by that prospect than there are people who are like, oh yeah, well, I wasn't going to vote for him, but now I'm going to because there's a Jew as a vice president. I don't think that sentiment is nearly as strong as the people who are like, I'm not going to have anything to do with this ticket if there's a Jew on it. So they're not able to contain this story. You're all these different names that are being leaked as potential candidates are all also having a bunch of Oppo research thrown out into the public square about them as well. Mark Kelly, with his being part of the company that is connected with Chinese intelligence and doing like weather balloons, and that story leaks right after his name is put forth. And now Shapiro is more and more seeming like the favorite, And then you're getting this sort of thing being dredged up. And it's not just being dredged up by Candace Owens, but even if, like, we could be seeing an actual legitimate info war that's happening outside the control of the regime. Like, there's enough people on adjacent to, the anti-regime cause who are able to command enough attention to actually get these stories trending, even when the major outlets won't touch them. And then the fact that there are forces within the major outlets that are opposed to, because there's this little Democrat infighting thing going on, they're happy to jump on these things. The Mark Kelly people are happy to jump on the Josh Shapiro thing and try to slander him so that they can improve Mark Kelly's standing, and vice versa. It's all very, very, very interesting. Imagine Candace Owens with an afro. Taylor Brown says, calling it now. The Trump-Vance invites Greenberg's family to be his guests of honor at the debate, just as Trump did with Clinton's rape victims in 2016. If that was his actual, if Shapiro winds up being the VP pick, then that would be a pretty savage move. Magoo says, it feels like a House of Cards episode, House of Khazars, but all right. Next story I've got here is a thread from Orin. Let's zoom this in just a wee bit here. All right, so first of all, we got America 2100, who we've shared some stuff from in the past, says, today's Wall Street Journal poll confirms it. Young men are moving right at a breakneck pace. The share of young men who identify as Republican has increased by double digits over the past decade, and the majority of young men now support Trump, a 29-point swing from 2020. So here's the numbers from a Gallup poll. Will young men vote Democratic in 2024? The percent identifying as Republican includes leaners. So as of 2023, it was at 49%, which is up. It's been, let's see, steadily increasing since Trump, basically. Political identities of 12th grade girls, percent identifying as liberal or conservative. And then political identities of 12th grade boys, percent identifying as liberal or conservative. So there's almost as many boys identifying as conservative as there is girls identifying as liberal, but there's much more girls identifying as conservative than there are boys identifying as liberal. And then preference for party or president among 18 to 29-year-old voters. We looked at this one the other day. So let's see. Let's go back to Orin's thread. He says, the total state Schmidt warned about was one in which democratic politics came to dominate every sphere of life. Here we see universal suffrage as the universal acid of civilization. The fact that our two political parties have basically become coded male and female is a disaster, turning the arenas of dating and marriage into a political battlefield. Female opponents of the 19th Amendment cited the destruction of the family as their primary concern, dividing the home and turning a foundational pre-political institution into a partisan showdown. When the men and women of a society see each other as existential political threats, family formation plummets. No one wants to make a long-term commitment to a political enemy bent on their destruction. Of course, this is also a marriage gap. The GOP wins the majority of married women, but the number of married women is plummeting, which is why the stereotype of the lonely liberal cat lady hits hard, but also means more spurned men who check out. I'm often asked what my most controversial opinion is, and I always answer, men and women have to learn how to live together. A country locked in an existential democratic battle that is coded male and female makes that incredibly difficult. And the only way that this isn't going to be solved by women, it's only going to be solved by men. We've got another thing coming later on here talking about the men and women thing. This is a funny one. I had to go look this one up. I had a feeling I knew what it was talking about, but I had to look it up to confirm because I don't watch Silicon Valley, the HBO series. But Mark Andreessen, who still has the dark mega profile picture, by the way, overheard in Silicon Valley. Trace C is really starting to dominate early stage VC alongside Ligma Johnson Capital. So this is, remember the VCs for Kamala thing we talked about the other day? Well, some that one nerdy on Twitter, another one of our guys here, Web3 pill techno optimist, EAC in the bio, or in the name, got the dark MAGA profile picture. He identified one of the names on VCs for Kamala, Russell Hanneman from Trace C Capital. Now, this is an inside joke from Silicon Valley from the movie, or the TV show rather. There's a character in there named Russell Hanneman, and then they have a meme that they use in the show, the 3 commas, or Trace C, which is a reference to billionaires because they got 3 commas. So some guy, I don't know how they put together this VCs for Kamala, but some guy there put his name as Russell Hanneman from Trace C Capital, and right above him is Rox, R-O-X-X, Rox Palpatine, principal at Palpatine Bridge Capital. There is some memeing that is happening here. This VCs for Kamala thing was not well coordinated. I mean, honestly, they probably don't really care because they're not expecting people to go and like piece through the whole thing. But they're getting memed on. People are taking advantage of their desperation to form a response. They're in this reactionary mode now. So now they're getting trolled and memed on by the right-wing VC culture. This is very beautiful. Bryce says, Matt, I'm behind. Shapiro's wife worked in the Clinton admin as an analyst in the Office of Science and Technology Policy. Interesting. So we might be, that could be an indicator as to which faction within the Democratic machine coalition is behind Shapiro. Okay, another one. I'm sorry I'm having to put some of these people in front of you, but such is the reality of our political field today. Laura Loomer tweets, Charlie Kirk and Turning Point Action have launched a free new amazing election app for 2024 where everyone who wants to help save this country can use it to defeat Democrats and their dirty trick practices they used in 2020, like ballot chasing and unverified mail ballots. Scott Pressler is also using this app among thousands of others. Everyone needs to download this app at TP Action and spread the word. So we've talked to you guys before about the turn that Charlie Kirk seems to have taken. And we've got, and we've also talked about Scott Pressler and the fact that he is actually someone who knows how to, he organized Baltimore cleanup. He's someone who knows how to do the ground game, how to actually start doing stuff on the ground, organizing people, doing neighborhood stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So they've got an app. You could think of this what you will, but this is the RNC seemingly responding in some capacity to the election fortification measures on the other side. Turning Point Action app, brand new application, activism in the palm of your hand. And it looks from here like it shows voters near me, voter registration data, and all of this is public info. So this can allow you, if you would like to go door to door and encourage people to vote for Trump, then you can do that. And I don't know what all else would be involved in it, but it is something that is available on the major app stores. So think of that what you will. Let's see what they said. Turning Point Action tweets, we are thrilled to introduce TP Action's brand new application. We've created your one-stop shop for all of your door-to-door activism needs. Our application encourages a relational approach to politics that embraces the human element. 2024 is the make or break year, and your participation shapes the outcome of our country for years to come. Are you willing to do the work to save our country? Join the fight today. I mean, hey, we've been, what was this? April 29. So if we're gonna complain about the RNC not doing the dirty work on the ground, then if they start doing the dirty work on the ground, then I'm gonna give it to them. At least they're trying. All right. I'm watching a clip here. No, I don't want to share that one. Okay. Another VP for Kamala story here. Jennifer Rubin, one of the worst human beings on the planet, just an absolute stain on our nation, at the Washington Post, accidentally published an article, Opinion, why TK is the perfect VP choice for Kamala Harris. Image, TK. Raheem Kassam says, wait, did the Washington Post really accidentally publish a placeholder article which shows how they'd cheerlead whomever Kamala picks? Another one I'm not following, and I should have been. by the way, for those who don't know, TK means to come in newsroom speak. It means the copy is not complete. Weird to do on an op-ed endorsing someone you don't know yet. So they had an opinion piece queued up for whoever Kamala chose as VP. They would plug in the name and the image, and Jennifer Rubin would write some slobbering endorsement. You can't tell me this is some sort of galaxy-brained revelation of the method or something like that. These people are fucking incompetent. They're retarded and incompetent. And we just need to tell them no. Speaking of the liberal white women, these are actually starting to fall into order kind of well here. Liberal white women immediately after donating to Kamala's presidential campaign. All right, I need someone here with the video editing skills to put Jennifer Rubin's face on this. I'm going to drop this in there. I'm hoping, what do we got? Right now we have 149 on Twitter and 120 on YouTube. I'm going to drop this in here. One of you out there, please, you must have the capacity to do this. Put Jennifer Rubin's face on this video, exactly as it is. Liberal white women immediately after donating to Kamala's presidential campaign, with Jennifer Rubin's face right there. I'm making my request. Okay. Okay, these are lining up pretty well. Next one here. We've talked about Valentina Gomez before. She's the one who had the ad we played last time about how these faggots need to get back in the closet. And here she is with another banger.
Fun and necessary. Just by
Hold on. What's up with the video?
I will make fat and slut shaming great again. It's fun and necessary. Jess Piper is a fat pig that I call lying about being swatted, is guilty of campaign finance violations, and is now trying to cancel a young, hardworking American by the name of Cody Seibert, who happens to support me. Cody and his family are the toxic masculine patriots that built America, that have paved the roads we drive on, and that are fed up with all of this woke garbage. Cancel culture is over because these Democrats are all gay, vaccinated, and cannot reproduce. So leave a big, beautiful review to the 4A Equipment Company.
White woman at the top floor, they gon' come to get King Kong. Middle America packed in.
I will.
This is the grifts are just elevating. They're just getting better and better. I really want to know who's behind her. I might need to do a dig on this and try to figure out who is. She's being put up to something like this, and even someone said, "Did you use Ozempic to lose weight? Give us some tips." Apparently, this is her. Someone found her old social media or something like that, and she's just owning it. She says, "Fat shaming really works. I'm now even more beautiful." Someone said, "I'm dying. These ads are absolutely hilariously true and ruthless." She says, "Don't give these vaccinated leftists an inch. Being weak is not an option, and being gay is just disgusting. When life hits you enough times, you become unapologetically based. I speak the truth. These liberals have destroyed America. Being nice is not an option. Make bullying great again. I've said it for years. It makes you stronger. Weakness is a problem." It's so obviously astroturfed. I want to know who's astroturfing it. It feels like someone paid her on Cameo to read an ad. Yeah, that's what all of her stuff feels like. She's such a stereotype, but I mean, she's getting her stuff visibility limited on X, but she's got enough of a platform that she gets 1.6 million views on it anyways. Oh, and I didn't even see what she said here. I call it how I see it. Fat and slut shaming is how we take America back. Kamala Harris is an Indian hoe. Oh, playing Ye's black skinhead in the background too. It's a whole. Someone knows what they're doing. Someone knows how to generate a viral thing like this. They know exactly how to plug into the current culture of the internet to fire up all of the right people in all of the right ways to amplify her profile. And she's running for Secretary of. I can't imagine she's got a snowball's chance in hell. But you know what? This is American politics now. This is what it looks like, and she could very legitimately wind up actually being elected. I really doubt it, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. What's the next one we got here? Speaking of, man, these are really lining up well. Speaking of women posting stuff on the internet, this chick here is, I can't remember her name. He cropped it off, and I'm glad he did, because the whole point of this is we need to stop giving these women our attention. She posted, imagine being 42, child-free, stress-free, and being this happy. The right hates this. It's her at some rave or something, dancing around some shitty pop music. And, of course, she winds up getting 25 million views from people dunking on her. No, parenthood, great, da. And Disgraced Propagandist, good friend of the show, says 25 million views. Nice work, everyone who retweeted this with your angry commentary, which gave her exactly what she wanted. Learn to ignore. Your breath is their oxygen. The layers to all of these things, they from her perspective, this chick is posting, she's doing political activism by posting herself as a single 42-year-old childless woman dancing and drinking. This is political activism to her. And she got 25 million views off of doing it. Cooper says, Matt, this is a troll. That's the point. The point is that it's a troll, and people keep falling for the troll. These women that are posting this, I'm trying to remember the other chick's name that was posting about posting like this. I can't remember her name, but there's a bunch of them that do this. The whole thing is fake. The whole thing is astroturfed, and people get really upset about it. They get really upset dunking on them and using them as a launching pad to start all different kinds of conversations and such. This is part of the gynocracy. The irony here is I'm participating in it right now, talking about it. But it's rage bait that's intentionally designed to be rage bait. The other chick I'm thinking of is her name is Jess, something like that. Some blonde chick that's always posting about Biden. And it's in the same vein as Brooklyn Dad. All of these people, they're literally paid to post stuff like this to get everyone all riled up. Shout out to 2-Bit with his prediction of the Neotrads. So this guy, Nico Christie, founder of Altera AI, said, a founder thanked me today for wearing a cross at an investor event. The vibe has definitely shifted. And again, I'm sorry for putting some of these people on your screen, but Ayala girl, Rachel Slick, says, I'm telling you guys, this Neotrad, neo-religious thing is getting a quiet surge in tech circles recently, and it's pretty concerning. And the guy said, it's actually kind of nice not to have to be ashamed of our faiths anymore. And she says, I mean, you realize I am a whore, and historically Christians have not treated me or other people like me well. I've also had Christians in tech, ones you probably know, make sure I wasn't allowed into events, specifically because I'm a sex worker. So she's having to be inconvenienced in being a whore, and this is the same as people having to hide their faiths. She's like, do you realize that you not having to hide your faith means I have to be a little uncomfortable? But this sort of interaction, this Nico guy, San Francisco, founder of this building digital human beings that live, love, and grow with us, starting in gaming, led a $9 million seed round, led by the best in the business at Patron, First Spark Ventures, and A16Z Games, and Speedrun. So this is exactly the sort of guy that I started stumbling upon. These whole bunch of little Silicon Valley guys. People ask me like who's in the PayPal Mafia? Who are the PayPal Mafia people? That's why I was like, it's not the PayPal Mafia. Like you can use that as a catch-all term, just kind of a label for this thing. But it's not just like the guys strictly associated with the PayPal Mafia. It's that them doing their thing is opening up the floodgates for guys like this. All the little guys, and there's thousands or maybe even millions, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of little guys like this who are having to hide their power levels, who are deep within Silicon Valley. And when the big mimetic models like David Sachs and Elon Musk and the the All In podcast guys, when all of that culture begins to shift, it's going to allow these guys to come out of the closet, so to speak. Total AI grift startup. Yeah, I say what you will about the actual merits of the business itself. He got people to give him $9 million. So, shout out to him. Hopefully that doesn't turn into a massive headache for him. But what I would like to see is I would like to see our guys getting $9 million for their AI grift startups. I mean, ideally, you could do it for a non-grift AI startup. But hey, if you're going to get $9 million, get $9 million, man. Here's a good thread. One of my favorite accounts on Twitter, Jarvis, really funny guy. He's very much he's from like the DeSantis voter coalition, ranging from, I don't know, like comfortably smug to David Riaboy, like that kind of circle of Twitter. But he manages to be just constantly cranks out bangers, and he takes the piss out of everything, so it's pretty entertaining. So Keith Olbermann's being a lol cow, and he said, arrest Elon Musk for violations of FEC laws. Do it today, because Elon Musk has created a PAC collecting voter data from those living in key battleground states or something like that. So he says, Keith Olbermann has called for Elon's arrest, so I thought I would do a thread of my favorite times Keith has demanded someone be arrested, along with why he wants them locked up. This thread is really funny. Elon Musk donating to a PAC that gathers voter info. Ron DeSantis flying migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Keith Olbermann says, he is a kidnapper. He is threatening more kidnappings. Arrest him. Can also officially arrest selected Supreme Court justices. So he wants to arrest, quote, select Supreme Court justices because he didn't like one of their rulings. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about border security. Just arrest this fucking idiot, Marjorie Taylor Greene, already. She either made up a story about border security, or if she's not lying, she just divulged actual border security. Just arrest her. I can't stand the stupidity anymore. He wants to arrest Tom Wilson for fighting in hockey. He wants to arrest Representative Gosar for endorsing Trump. He wants to arrest Donald Trump for making terrorist threats. You're going to be crushed if you don't elect me. I hate to tell you, you don't elect me, you're going to be crushed. He's making terrorist threats. He wants to arrest Ted Cruz for asking for an audit. He wants to arrest Representative Heather Scott for posting on Twitter a picture someone sent her. So what was the picture? Shared by a friend from North Idaho, undisclosed location. Has painted a picture of Joe Biden being tossed to the back of a truck, on the back of the truck. Arrest this person for distributing a threat against the President of the United States. Chief Justice John Roberts, arrest needed if he doesn't respond to a subpoena from Dick Durbin. Jared Kushner needs to be arrested for espionage. The blind squirrel finds a nut. Donald Trump Jr. needs to be arrested for treason. And then he says, ending it with my overall favorite Keith moment that doesn't involve him demanding an arrest. The time he tried to dunk on someone, but ended up saying he pisses on his own face. So Keith Olbermann tweeted, the Supreme Court has betrayed democracy. Its members, including Jackson, Kagan, and Sotomayor, have proved themselves inept at reading comprehension. And collectively, the court has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate. It must be dissolved. Gunther Engelman says, cry more, 9-0. And he says, these aren't tears, fascists. They're urine. I'm sure you enjoy being bathed in it. What? Good tweetman says, Keith, this comeback doesn't make any sense. It implies you're pissing on yourself. Did you just say that your face is covered in piss? Can he possibly be serious? Is there any way that Keith Olbermann's bit isn't just an elaborate piece of performance art? Is he possibly really serious about all of this? Is he genuinely a lol cow, or is he just playing the part of lol cow because, he can? It's an effective grift. I just can't imagine. Okay. Lee's quote tweet. No, what was it? Remind me. I'm gonna post this next one. I get CTE from reporting on sports. Yeah. So this one I saw this morning. I read this to Cooper earlier. So while the dudes are defending their country, the women are complaining about their love lives and dating apps. Wrap it up, everyone. We need an asteroid. So I think this is, what is this? This is New York Times. Looking at the font, I think this is New York Times. Oh, hold on. Oh, that's right. I remember that he replied to his piss tweet, but I don't remember what it was. See if you can find it for me. Find it and send it. You can probably just drop it in the chat here. So the headline is War Shatters Dating Scene for Women in Ukraine. While the pursuit of love might seem secondary to dealing with the horrors and privations of the war, many Ukrainians say they need romantic relationships to help them cope. This is the detachment from reality of the regime media has never been more perfectly depicted than this. And the crazy thing about this is they even, like, they're self-conscious about it. They're even making reference to the fact. They're like, you might think that the pursuit of love might be secondary to dealing with the horrors and privations of the war. So they're even, like, giving lip service to the obvious insanity of the thing that they're writing. But they've got to do it anyways. Ukrainians say they need romantic relationships to help them cope. It's also an acknowledgement that Ukraine has been absolutely decimated. For the past 2.5 years, Katerina Bayrachna has wanted to meet someone special, but war always gets in the way. Those darn wars getting in the way of poor Katerina just wanting to meet someone successful. I wonder where those wars came from. It's such a shame. Ms. Bayrachna met a soldier, but then he was sent to the front. She traded text messages with another man, but those fizzled out because he was in no mood to meet, fearing he might soon be drafted. On the dating app Bumble, Ms. Bayrachna liked the looks of a hipster. But when she scrolled through his photographs, she noticed his amputated leg. I looked at his profile for 15 minutes and felt so sorry for him, Ms. Bayrachna, 35, a marketing director for a clothing brand in Kiev, said in an interview. She's a marketing director for a clothing brand in Kiev. She wondered if she could handle a relationship with a maimed war veteran. Then she swiped left, removing him from potential matches. I feel I'm not ready for that. This is like galaxy brain level women figuring out how to make the problem all about them. You know, he's got an amputated leg and she's just not ready. I'm just not ready for that kind of commitment yet. This is the story. The story is the poor woman who just can't make a commitment to a guy with an amputated leg. But just wait, there's a banger of a line coming. Here it is. For women, the problem is particularly acute. Tens of thousands of men have died. I tweeted this out, like, these two sentences put together belong in the Louvre. For women, the problem is particularly acute. Tens of thousands of men have died. The tens of thousands of men dying makes the problem particularly acute for the women. My jaw dropped when I read this. The problem for the women, the acute problem for the women, is tens of thousands of men have died. I don't understand. How does a human being write these words and publish them? Many more are on the front lines. Some have fled the country and others are reluctant to leave their homes, fearful of being stopped in the street by draft officers. In cities like Kiev, the capital, the presence of men has noticeably dwindled. In some villages, conscription has hollowed out the male population. All of these things happening to men are a problem because of the way they affect women. These people are not human. This leaves a small percentage of men who are ready for and want relationships, said Margarita Stelmashova, a Ukrainian psychotherapist and sexologist. Oh, I'm glad we're getting the input of the sexologists. The war has also made forming long-term relationships more challenging. Many soldiers experience psychological stress that strains their intimate connections, sexologists say. You think? And several women said in interviews that they worried about dating servicemen who might have war trauma and who could one day be killed. It is an absolute atrocity what these people have done to the Ukraine. Completely decimated it. We're going to look back years from now at the destruction of the Ukraine as one of the great atrocities of history. The number of people who have died because of Victoria Nuland and her girl boss agenda is going to stagger the world, I think. And all we have to do is just say no to these people. Just need sufficient people to just say no. This is not going to happen anymore. Go get a real job. If you can't find one, we'll provide you one. Here's a decent rundown of some of the stuff here. Because I was out of the office basically over the weekend, but last night at 11 p.m. my time, Patrick Bet David says, brace for impact. Tomorrow opening of the market will reveal a ton. Few strange events taking place causing concern among investors. 1. Rumors of an underground bunker in Jerusalem where senior leaders can remain for an extended period during a war has been prepared by the Shin Bet security service and is fully operational, the Walla news site reported on Sunday, amid fear of attacks on Israel from Hezbollah and Iran. The bunker, reportedly built almost 20 years ago, can sustain hits from a range of existing weaponry, has command and control capabilities, and is connected to the Defense Ministry headquarters in Tel Aviv, the report said. Number 2, the Japan stock market, the Nikkei 225, is set to post its largest two-day drop in history, larger than Black Monday crash of 1987. 3, Bitcoin is down 22% the last week, 10% just today. Ethereum is down 31% for the week, 21% for the day. Number 4, some trends showing the increased purchase of military stocks underway. This isn't fully verified, but you can see some patterns. Talks about the Federal Reserve considering lowering rates half a point next month to stabilize the massive potential stock market loss in August. Number 6, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway dumped $75.5 billion worth of stock and halves Apple stake. They're now sitting on a record cash pile of $276.9 billion. What does all of this mean? 1, nothing. 2, shit's about to hit the fan. 3, a possible World War III is imminent, and America may be forced to get involved with Iran and Israel if Iran attacks. The overdue recession is finally here. Global recession after all the printing of money is here. It could be any of these. Any of these or all of these. Either way, I follow a basic rule. I lean 51% on the future looking bright and 49% on only the paranoid survive. God is good. So, I'm on... I don't know how I managed to still be following the same number of people, but have been unfollowed from a bunch of people. How does this happen? Like I said earlier in the show, I don't know what all of these things all have to do with each other. I know that we're going to have wars and rumors of wars, and there's going to be economic crisis. We're in a time of all the cyclical patterns of history point to this being a time of great strife and crisis. So when you get news about great strife and crisis, there's no point in being blackpilled or demoralized about it. It just tells you what time we live in. Because all these same cycles also point to this being the bottom of the trough and then things heading up again in the other direction. Apart from, certain niche theories about absolute global cataclysms. But if such a thing happens, you don't need to prepare for it. You don't need to trouble yourself with worrying about those things. If it's the end of the world, it's going to be the end of the world, and you don't need to plan for that apart from getting your soul right. But the rest of this stuff, yeah, there's going to be shit. There's going to be wars. There's going to be economic collapses. It doesn't change the facts on the ground, which are we need to build wealth, build family, build community, build locally. Ensure that whatever happens, we can ride it out. Now, I do think that there's enough data points now indicating a mounting coalition in opposition to the regime agendas of the last several decades that is, I believe, getting to the point where they can begin turning some of these events themselves. And there isn't one powerful actor on the stage and a bunch of little weak actors all trying to vie for crumbs of power. I think there's multiple powerful actors now competing on a stage where they're approximately equals, or they're within shouting distance of each other, depending on, you tilt the playing field one way all of a sudden, and you can have a huge reallocation of capital. So, for example, the Tom Luongo's theory about American private capital bankrupting Europe. I think I need to run this theory by more people who understand finance at a more sophisticated degree than I do, especially geopolitical, monetary theory, and monetary policy and all that. But the way that I understand the move from LIBOR to SOFR is that the value of the American dollar has now been grounded in what's effectively American economic activity, which is something that can be bootstrapped. And if that's the case, then we could be positioned for a incoming Trump administration that dedicates a tremendous amount of focus and effort on reallocating funds toward infrastructure projects and building up infrastructure really, really quickly, really rapidly, like post-World War II. And if the value of the American dollar is grounded in American economic activity, and you bootstrap American economic activity and support the value of the dollar, at the same time that all the other different nations are cannibalizing each other and bankrupting each other, I can see this being a, basically an intentional, protracted changing of the guard. I don't know for sure if that's happening. It's just a thesis that I don't see the regime's interests being favored by increased instability and increased catastrophe and increased potential for war. All of these things are just accelerating their own demise. And not unlike people like, oh, well, I think there's a regime that is actually working to precipitate all of these things because I'm very educated on politics and I do not want this regime anymore. So I think I'm going to vote against them. No, nothing like that. It's when things get really shitty, people want the incumbents out. It's as simple as that. Everything sucks now. Please, you guys go away. We'll take a chance on these guys. Very like lizard brain. The more black swan events happen, the weaker the regime's grip on power becomes. Jerome Powell literally said there's room in the world for more than one reserve currency. We're moving to a global fracturing and a local, what would be the opposite? A local connecting? I don't know. Like locally, things are going to get more and more interconnected, while globally, everything's going to get more and more fractured. Both of these tensions are pulling on each other at the same time. In the same way that the introduction of the internet allowed for a massive explosion in little companies, and it also allowed for absolute contraction and consolidation into a few companies. You get both of these things happening at the same time, complete centralization and complete decentralization. And it looks like what we're experiencing on the global stage is rather than a consolidation at the top, we're getting a fracturing at the top, and the consolidation is happening from the bottom up. And I don't fully grok what all of the implications of that are, but I know that for us, little players on this stage, we have great potential to build through this and capitalize on some of these forces. So if there's a local consolidation effect happening by nature, then we can begin consolidating our own local projects and just kind of, trying to fit in with the herd. A.W. Meyer says, how do we connect? Search for fellow heritage folks in regions, heritage families moving to different locales is a thing near my world. I would say at this point, this isn't a cop-out answer. I mean this sincerely. At this point, it means anything. It's gonna mean different things for different people. But we all need friends. We need communities that can supply all the different resources. Some of us specialize in certain things over others, and we need to be setting up trade relationships or social relationships where we're allowed to mutually benefit from relationships to each other. So for some people, this is going to mean actually literally relocating physically into one consolidated area. I think the more that we can have that happen, the better. But I also know that's not completely feasible for a lot of people. So for other people, it may just mean you live in a suburban neighborhood and you just need to be friends with all of your neighbors. And and then making digital connections with other people to be able to kind of game through if some sort of major collapse happens in the grid, or I think a lot of these really catastrophic projections, I just find them really hard to actually buy that they're going to come about. Like a national level EMP event or something like that. There's just the number of decisions that would have to be made to get to that point, and there's so much pressure against making those decisions to drive to that point. Like a massive grid collapse or something that would be precipitated, like someone intentionally collapses the grid somehow. We have so much less to lose than the actual power brokers do in a situation like that. So I think a lot of those things are just mostly just fear porn to get you to distract you from actually focusing on doing stuff that matters. Building your local communities and investing in each other. Don't get too caught up in the vibe swinging one way or the other. It's getting pulled around all over the place, but I'm down enough here that I might be able to find this one specific video I actually had planned on starting off with today, and then it got buried in the stack. Because, oh my God. Almost every single one of these is a video. But this, to remind you guys of how the vibe can shift. What the hell? Where did I put it? Of course, literally, it's the very, very last one. All right. We'll go to this one. Old Glory Club says, hey, remember 2 weeks ago when everything was awesome before some fake poll said Kamala Harris was going to win the presidency without campaigning? Just let this marinate with you for the 45 seconds that it plays.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again. When they
If I was you guys, go bookmark this video. Go bookmark this clip and just pull it up. Anytime you're feeling like the darkness is the vibe is getting dark, you're feeling depressed about what's coming, spin up that bad boy and just listen to it. Remember, no fucking black pilling. Let's give you guys another. I don't remember what this one was about, so I'm going to save that for later when I can watch it. We got a couple of good video clips here, little entertainment stuff to. Let's take a break from the heavy stuff for a minute. And I can't remember if I played this one or not, but I really enjoy it, so we're going to play it again. Guitarist Marcin Patrolek, no idea how you pronounce it, plays the aria Habanera from Carmen. Cooper hates everything nice, so he hates this guy. I've never heard of him. Cooper apparently knew who he was, and he was like, oh, I can't stand that guy. And I was like, this is the first I've ever seen of him. I like the song. Kate said, We need constant streams of positive hype propaganda. Indeed, we do. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great if somebody produced something that involved constant streams of positive hype propaganda? Someone might be working on something along those lines. All right, let's keep working through here. We're going to hold that one off for the last. We're going to save that one for another day. And we already listened to that one. And then, okay, let's do an Elon one here. So this guy, Luke Metro, says someone really needs to do a case study on the Starlink terminal assembly line as the one example of an all-American consumer electronics that is actually competitive with Asian manufacturers. And Patrick McKenzie here. I work for the internet and am an advisor to Stripe. These are my personal opinions unless otherwise noted. 170,000 followers. He says, imagine you're talking to a time traveler back in 2000. Oh, some good news. America does have an end-to-end supply chain for high-value electronics. Really? Receivers for worldwide geosynchronous satellite-based ISP, also ours. Holy cow. Private space industry, naturally. Wow, America had a sound industrial policy? Or perhaps some technological revolution? Nah, it was basically one guy. One guy? He also runs one of the major auto manufacturers. Oh, so he's from Ford or... No, it's new too. What? Yeah, he's enormously controversial. Why is that? Oh, some people think he basically never gets anything done. I'm having trouble understanding how anyone could believe that. Well, he hangs out on this website that the president and everyone are on, right? The president hangs out on a website? Well, someone cosplaying as the president hangs out on a website. What? Future's weird. Future is weird. Who owns the website the first cosplayer hangs out on? Ah, funny you should ask. This is what's... yep, it's that guy too. Same guy. I think people have gotten so used to Elon being around that they don't really appreciate exactly what Elon actually is, what he represents, the forces that he represents, the market share he commands. This is why when Elon says, hey, Trump, we should have a government efficiency board or whatever. Oh, government efficiency board. We want to have I would be interested in sitting on a committee that is responsible for making the trains run on time. What do you think there, Mr. Trump? That's a pretty big signal. JD Vance on who was behind the push to take Biden out of the 2024 race. This is another clip from the same interview with Chief Nerd that dropped in the last couple of days. So this is the incoming VP.
They sit on a side and they say, Donald Trump is against democracy.
Yeah.
But they're also now, they held someone long enough to pass up where they could actually vote for a new kind of like nominee. And then they just picked who they wanted. So there's actually no democracy in that.
Not at all. And 14 million people, look, it's not my party and I wouldn't have voted for him, but 14 million people voted for him to be the nominee of the Democrat Party.
Yes.
How many people have voted for Kamala Harris to be the nominee of the Democrat Party?
None.
Zero. Right?
Yeah.
Not a single person. So it's funny, they accuse me and Donald Trump of being threats to democracy. Like, Trump is the most popular person in the party. He still ran through the primary process because that's what you have to do, right? You have to persuade voters that you're the guy. That's kind of how this system works. And basically what happened is Barack Obama, the Clinton family, and a few billionaires got in a room together and said, hey, this guy's political dead weight, let's throw him overboard. And that's really creepy if you think about it, but then you realize he's the president of the United States. And it kind of makes you question, what is the real power center in this country?
Yeah,
if
unelected officials.
Few billionaires and a few unelected officials can throw the president overboard. I think, I've tried to make this argument to Democrats is, look, if you are uncomfortable by how this process shaked out and you feel kind of insulted as a voter, vote for Republicans. You may not agree with us on everything, but at least in our party, we believe you should have to persuade people, not try to run this corrupt process in the background.
Again, things have changed so quickly, and I just realized I've got the little king pill thing over my face when it's set up like this. There. things have changed so rapidly that I don't think people fully appreciate how much they've changed. But I'm old enough to remember when people were like, hey, we should get like Donald Trump to go on Joe Rogan. That was like the bare minimum idea of trying to pull a little bit from legacy media into the alternative media or whatever you want to call it. Well, now that alternative media has basically occupied the role that used to be the mainstream. The legacy media is dying. They're losing market share. And all the younger generations, very few of the younger generations are actually getting their media and their news and their narratives from the legacy outlets. The legacy outlets still have some influence on it, but by and large, it's coming from alternative outlets. And here we have Chief Nerd, I like kind of a normie MAGA sort of account on Twitter that is doing an interview with the vice president, who's sitting there hanging out and chatting with them real naturally. And, he's 39 or whatever. Like this is American politics now. American politics is the popular incumbent party, or the popular favorite party, having conversations on these alternative platforms. Vivek really pushed the envelope on this a lot, and he had a lot of success with it, and that became a mimetic model for the continuing expansion. So the parties that actually establish most of a footprint in these alternative popular institutions are the ones that are going to have the most success going forward. So, okay, here was the other Josh Shapiro thing. Screen share. Orin McIntyre says, the Civil War in the Democratic Party is both fascinating and hilarious. I do have to quibble a little bit. This is not the Democratic Party. It's the Democrat Party. I propose that we no longer refer to them as Democratic. We exclusively, intentionally call them the Democrat Party. WBS Apparel says, the people running her campaign are so clueless. Josh Shapiro seeks to downplay his time as IDF volunteer after college op-ed resurfaces. So the guy who Candace Owens just did the expose on his involvement in this very suspicious, pretty obvious murder that's been called a suicide of a Greenberg. He also was an IDF volunteer. Right now, the Israel-Palestine thing is probably the biggest fracturing line within the regime coalition. And the favorite for VP, among all these people who are jockeying to push their guy in there, the favorite and the one who historically might be the most electorally beneficial, being the governor, relatively popular governor of an important swing state that controls a lot of the apparatuses there. He has been he's got all this dirty laundry in his back, in his closet, and he was also an IDF volunteer among the dirty laundry. They've really got themselves in a pickle because there's a lot of shitlib lefties that want nothing to do with an Israeli VP. I don't think that means that they're going to vote for Trump, but it very much could have a depressing effect on Democrat voter turnout. Yeah, Witt says they're acting like the internet's not a thing. You can't hide dirty laundry anymore. Yeah, it's just... This is part of building your regime on trying to build a globally networked regime on incompetence. Eventually, it just comes around to bite you in the ass. And now it's becoming easier and easier to just throw them into complete chaos by hammering them with negative stories from all angles at all times. This is one from Bonchi at Red State, your clip of the week. CNN sends a reporter into a barbershop only to have the black men there say they don't consider Kamala black and aren't excited by her. And then listen to the CNN guy cope.
Is Kamala going to make you a little more likely or less likely to vote Democrat?
Well, I guess, hold on, Ray. Is Kamala black? Yes or no?
I'm going to let her speak on that. But to me, no.
Oh, is Kamala black? Yes or no?
I share that same view.
Wow, is Kamala black? Yes or no?
I heard she was. I heard she's half black and half Asian.
When I played that audio on my SiriusXM radio program on Thursday, many callers who self-identified as African American were quick to tell me that those men were the exception, not the rule. Some described them as low information voters, no different than you'd find among whites.
I wonder how these guys are going to feel when they look on CNN and they see that this. I can't remember the guy's name. Maybe someone in the chat remembers. But they see themselves being described as low information voters. One thing I got to give it to them is they're so good at coming up with euphemisms. They're so good at coming up with some way to avoid saying black people. All right. We're getting down. We're winnowing. I think my brain just stopped working. This one just looked like a cool shot. I don't remember exactly what was on this, but I think it's just a cool shot to get you guys hype. Why'd they cut it off? That's a good video. Okay. Here's one. I'm gonna trigger some nostalgia for you guys now. But this should also be inspiring, I think. It's not that far gone from us. So this is a new place called the Olive Garden.
It's called the Olive Garden. It's a new Italian restaurant, and it is so popular that ever since it opened, which was about 1 month ago, they have had 45-minute waits at lunch and dinner. I mean, people are just going in droves to this place. Now, there's a big parking lot outside. It's a very convenient suburban restaurant. And when you go in, you see what they're going for, which is they call kind of an Italian garden setting.
It's a family Italian restaurant. As Steve said, it's owned by General Mills, and they have been all over the country. They started in Orlando.
It's a very interesting accent that she has. What time frame is this here? When did Olive Garden? So this must be founded in 1982 in Orlando. So this must be, let's see. It looks like and sounds like late 80s, early 90s. There's like an accent or a way of speech that she has that I associate with news clips from like the 80s.
They have many of these in Ohio, but this is their first one in Minnesota, and it is a hit, as you can see.
Now, there's what they call the tour of Italy. If you'd like to try a number of different things, that include a grilled chicken parmesan, a fettuccine alfredo, and lasagna. When you put that together with the salad and the breadsticks, we are talking a huge, and the salad is bottomless. You can keep getting more and more and more. It's great.
At lunch, you can get spaghetti with meatballs for $4.25. It's a bit more expensive at $6.50 at dinner, but that still is a really good deal for the size of the portions that you get. All the pastas are made here on the premises daily. They do make their own homemade pastas, and they have all different kinds, from ZT to
spaghetti and meatballs for $4.25. Oh my God.
Spaghetti to ravioli, lasagna, the basics, as well as a little more exotic, including manicotti.
For food, I gave it 2.5. I'll tell you what, I went there twice. Some things are really good. I mean, I like their soup, and their salad was good. Their dessert was good. Some of the other things were just okay. And one night, the fettuccine alfredo was good, and another night, it was just so-so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they need some fine-tuning there, about 2.5.
I gave it a 2.5 also.
I gave it a 2.5 also. Imagine living in a world where you would get a news piece dedicated to something like this, and people would watch this and be like, "Oh, I want to hear about this new Olive Garden place that just came into town. I'm going to tune into the nightly news and hear the report on the Olive Garden and see what it's like. Maybe I'll swing by there and grab myself some spaghetti and meatballs for $4.25. Wait in line." And then here we are 40 years later, 30, 40 years later. And now, then it was kind of a status thing. Now it's become so completely commercialized. It's barely above eating fast food. This is aspirational. When we can rebuild our little local news networks and people are actually invested in their local news and their local communities. This is a good thing. This is very wholesome. This is absolutely something to strive for, to return to. There's a couple comments here. Politically Catholic says he's watching from he's listening over an hour behind. He said your tab from, I think he means Uber Boyo, actually sounds very attractive. His vision of where we're going about gated communities sounds very attractive to me. I had the same idea to develop exactly such a community here in Texas the other day. I got a plot of land picked out too. Interesting. I may need to have a phone conversation with Mr. Politically Catholic here. Also, Cooper, if you're still watching, or Colin, if you're in here, this video, that aesthetic, we need to work on that, capturing that aesthetic. I will drop the link in the chat for anyone who wants it. Okay. Let's keep wading through here. I got a bunch of funny ones today. This one here is me preparing to operate heavy machinery from Uncle Doomer. Uncle Doomer is a great follow on Twitter. This is some good white boy summer content here. This guy's name's got to be Kyle.
Dude, this is why Whitney broke up with Fuck you, dude. Dude. Oh, Jesus.
Boxing the drywall. Woo! This is some powerful energy, man. Cooper, if you're still in the chat, you know what to do. Oh, powerful, powerful energy. I saw this thread this morning. This is good art. Octopus Caveman on Twitter. It says, Buc-ee's is truly a monstrosity. A convenience store so large it becomes the most inconvenient shopping experience imaginable. Even the name defies convenience. Autocorrect almost begs you not to find one or speak of this godless temple of man's excess. 5 stars. The one I went to had 100 gas pumps. I witnessed a man attempt to pay for gas, but he forgot his pump number. Completely defeated and with countless miles back to his vehicle, he simply walked off into the woods, never to be seen again. I saw an old woman in a wheelchair near the brisket watching the men in cowboy hats chop and pretend to be Texan. At one point, she applauded, and I realized someone just wheeled Granny up to watch the meat show while they were shopping, as if it was daytime TV. The wall of jerky was truly a thing to behold. Like Noah's Ark, there were 2 of every animal preserved. An affront to our own mortality, yet in the end, these jerked animals will return to the dust along with us, leaving behind only Buc-ee's smiling beaver face mocking our demise. In the voice of Werner Herzog.
Buc-ee's is truly a monstrosity. A convenience store so large it becomes the most inconvenient shopping experience imaginable. Even the name defies convenience. Autocorrect almost begs you not to find one or speak of this godless temple of man's excess. 5 stars.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That goes together pretty well. Vorpal Anvil says, back in the day, me and my roommates kept boxing gloves in the house for when we got drunk and had disagreements. This is powerful white boy energy. His first name is Kyle and his middle name is Kyle. I wonder if we've got Kyle in the chat today. We've got a couple of Kyles that tune in here every once in a while. If you guys are out there, then you gotta shout out for your Kyle kind. All right, let's start winding this down here. Another good meme video. I just like I like the sound of this one. Daily Roman updates. Roman camp in 9 AD. Did you hear that? Hear what? Never mind, it's probably nothing. And here's the nothing. So I kind of want to have like a whole mix of that stuff to lift. Seems like that's like be really good lifting music, but I also am a little afraid that if I do that, I might be like inviting a spirit into myself that's going to come like occupy my muscles or something. Yeah, should I be headbanging this or no? Right? It kind of makes me confused. What do I do with my hands? No telling what you just summoned from the other realms. Yeah, right. I'm glad that you guys are on the same wavelength as me. I kind of like it, but I'm also kind of uncomfortable. Here's a story. You can see the regime's all hot and bothered. The pro-Trump PAC, backed by billionaire Elon Musk, is under investigation by the Office of Michigan's Secretary of State. Jocelyn Benson's office, the Longhouse persists, is looking at whether the PAC has broken any state laws with their data collection efforts. Zuckerberg literally does the same thing for Democrats. So this is it's not even worth reading about. You should have expected something like this to happen, but it further corroborates my thesis that the more into this the PayPal mafia, the tech bros get, the deeper into it they get, the more radicalized they're going to become. Because they just want to, they're the grillionaires, they just want to grill, and the Longhouse is getting in their way. So this sort of thing, they're like, all right, you know what? We're going to run our same playbook, the same playbook that our culture has used for shaping government policy for decades now. We're going to run that playbook in our favor. Oh, would you look at that? We're under investigation. Huh. Guess we just need to regime change even harder now. This was an interesting story here. I've got two more videos. I got this story, and then I've got a G.K. Chesterton quote for us to wrap up with. So this guy with the unpronounceable name says a lot happened in July, but one event went quietly unnoticed. The result of the largest American-controlled experiment in universal basic income was released. You haven't heard about it because the findings are terrifyingly bad. So the employment effects of a guaranteed income experimental evidence from 2 U.S. states. Working paper 32719, National Bureau of Economic Research. It was funded by the founders of ChatGPT, presumably to mitigate the potential job losses anticipated through AI and AGI. 1,100 randomized households making under $29,900 were given $1,000 per month for 3 years. Essentially, their income increased by 40%. The UBI participants lived in urban, suburban, and rural towns in Texas and Illinois. Result 1. UBI participants ended up earning $1,500 less, despite being given $12,000 more annually. For every $1 received, total household income dropped by at least 21 cents. Result 2. UBI participants stayed unemployed for an extra month compared to those unemployed in the control group. Result 3. UBI participants worked less, and there were no substantive changes in quality of employment. UBI participants did little to improve their education or training to improve their income. Result 4. UBI participants self-reported increased rates of disability to limit the work they can do. 2 ways to look at these results. The American underclass is so worn down that when thrown a life preserver, they could only float rather than paddle to safety. UBI advocates will argue that $1,000 per month wasn't enough. The standard response, oh, the thing didn't work, we didn't put enough money into it. Duffhead says some of our guys need to come up with an AI named Chad GPT. That'd be great. See if we can get him to sue us for it and just raise like Streisand effect ourselves. Or universal basic income and its collectivist derivatives are never enough. Work is intrinsically tied to human dignity, happiness, and progress. In other words, according to Ronald Reagan when he accepted the 1980 GOP nomination, quote, work and family are at the center of our lives, the foundation of our dignity as a free people. When we deprive people of what they have earned or take away their jobs, we destroy their dignity and undermine their families. Read the study for yourself and draw your own conclusions. I heard about this because the All In podcast bros were talking about it. And I'd recommend going, if you want to hear their, this new California ideology and its different variants that is taking over. The federal government is basically becoming a macrocosm of the internecine San Francisco politics. If you want to hear their take on it, then you should go listen to that, because they're libs. Basically, all of them are libs to varying degrees. But it's interesting hearing them kind of reason through this and giving legitimate credence to the idea that just handing money to people isn't good. It's not going to make life better for them. That work is necessary. People need to work. They need to be earning their keep and overcoming obstacles. And like there's their appreciation of competence drives them it drives them into rebellion against the shit lib dogma, because they hold competence so highly and they recognize that human beings are not just like widgets that can be interchanged and manipulated, that there's actually a human person in there that has to be accounted for. So that was I think they've had an episode that's come out since then, so it would be not the most recent episode, but the one before that. If you want to go listen to it, I strongly recommend it. It's good for keeping tabs on their culture, because we're going to be subjected to it more and more. All right. Last couple of videos here. We got one that's heartwarming. We got one that I can't remember if I played it on here or not, but it's one of the best pieces of right-wing art I've ever seen. And then we'll wrap up with a Chesterton quote. So this one here is for the dads and the ladies out there. You'll appreciate this.
You're gonna put the gate on. Put the gate across. That's it. Daddy. And then press the button.
He's so happy.
Press the button. Yeah, that's it. Now hold on tight.
Hold tight.
Ready? And then lock it in. You going in? Good boy. And then push the button. Lift coming up. In you get.
Hold on tight.
Hold on tight.
You cannot be black-pilled. There's so much good stuff happening. There are good people in the world that are doing good things. Men raising their kids right. All right. Big shout out here to Fraser Payne. This is the guy who I played the Jared Taylor edit the last episode. Same guy here. This is, I can't remember if I've played this on the show before. If I have, I don't care. I'm going to play it again after this at some point. Just phenomenal. This is so good. He says, I present to you my short film debut, Chudrick.
I'm slowly drifting to from you.
it's so good. Go follow him on Twitter at MineGotNiles. Chudrick Westfallen is such a good name. There's just everything about this. Everything about it. Please, if you encounter anybody else producing stuff like this, show it to me. I want to signal boost all of it. The art is so good. All right, last thing. G.K. Chesterton quote. G.K. Chesterton understood. The swiftest things are the softest things. A bird is active because a bird is soft. A stone is helpless because a stone is hard. The stone must by its own nature go downwards because hardness is weakness. The bird can of its own nature go upwards because fragility is force. In perfect force, there is a kind of frivolity, an airiness that can maintain itself in the air. Modern investigators of miraculous history have solemnly admitted that a characteristic of the great saints is their power of levitation. They might go further. A characteristic of the great saints is their power of levity. Angels can fly because they can take themselves lightly. Seriousness is not a virtue. It would be a heresy, but a much more sensible heresy, to say that seriousness is a vice. It is really a natural trend or lapse into taking oneself gravely because it is the easiest thing to do. It is much easier to write a good Times leading article than a good joke and punch. For solemnity flows out of men naturally, but laughter is a leap. It is easy to be heavy, hard to be light. Satan fell by the force of gravity. No fucking blackpilling. Don't hold on to things too tightly. Hold on to them just tight enough. And remember how good the world is. Focus on the good stuff. Build, make connections. Join the King Pill Discord if you want. If you're looking for a community, if you need some people to plug into, feeling kind of lonely or feeling like you don't know where to start, we've got a great community of people that are all involved in their own little industries, willing to contribute time and effort and energy and advice. And it's a great community. It's where I spend the majority of my online time now when I'm not accumulating content for the show. Best feet pics on the internet. Yeah, there's an inside joke for you guys. We have a Warhammer 40K channel now, and it's called I think it's like 40 Gay Feet Pics is the name of the channel. It's deep inside jokes. We have lore in our community. Come join us. Kingpill.com. We have a great time. We'd love to have you there. So sign up. We'll do on Friday evening. We're going to do another Schizo stream. So we're going to take submissions for that. I've got some ideas, but I'm happy to do anything you guys want to do. So if you want to be a part of that, you can join at any tier. And we've got a big project coming. We've dropped some hints about what it's going to be, but we're real excited about it. And we can't wait for you guys to see what's going on. So we'll drop a few more teasers inside the Discord to get a little bit of feedback from the market. But yeah, if you want to be a part of that, kingpill.com. Do me a favor and like the stream. We got 116 watching right now and 65 likes. So on your way out, hit the like button and follow me on Twitter at RealKingPilled. Subscribe to the channel here. Let me see if there's somebody. Is there someone streaming right now that we could go raid? Let's see. Doesn't look like I don't have anyone I'm subscribed to who's streaming right now. So we won't do a raid today. But I'll be back here tomorrow morning to chat with you guys again. So